So good afternoon, everybody. So thank you, Udinath Paul. So what I would like to do today is that this is today's National Science Day. We are supposed to celebrate, and actually we are supposed to think of all sorts of things, what we can do with science and how to do science and things like that. So first of all, I'll have to tell you something I told my student just a couple of hours back in my university. So I just said two things to them. So we'll start with that. But before that, let me say how this whole idea came about, celebrating Science Day. Actually, this was done by, I think all of you know, there is something called National Council for Science and Technology Communication. There's a part of the DST wing, and they have started this since 1987. And it's a DSC program, basically. So if it is a DSC institute, if you don't organize this, then that doesn't look nice. Okay, and that too, when you enter the institute, first thing you see is C.V. Raman's statue. So I think it's a good thing, and this should be done every year, I think. And here, basic idea of DSC is a promotion of science and technology in a country. That is what they do. Other thing is science popularization, particularly in activities which are basically about the current issues of science and technology which we face. Okay, so but then that National Council for Science and Technology Communication is a communication. This is something like mass communication or whatever you call it. And I say it's a very interesting thing. If those of you who do not know about it, please go through it. It's very interesting. And it is basically how you bring science to the people. And through various means, including print media and digital media, etc., and all that. Okay, so their objective is obviously to spread messages of importance of science in daily life. Then science for human welfare, discuss new technologies which you can discuss in a day like this, and encourage popularization of science. I mean, that is another very important thing, that it is part of science communication that we do. And in fact, the Science Day is also a part of that. So therefore, one of the most important thing to do is that we can encourage people to do science, and particularly students, school students, for example. Normally, what DST wants is that you organize some kind of a model building competition, quiz competition, and some kind of a project display, and so on and so forth. And that is the kind of thing that normally many people organize. And here also, I believe that since it's a DST institute, this kind of thing should be done. Recently, I've gone to some our regional science center where I have seen the IASST banner there. So there are lots of things were shown, displayed. These on innovation. That's also another important thing that we should now encourage students, etc. So I would like to tell you just like what I told my students. Many of you are very junior, so I think I can take the liberty to tell you something about C.V. Raman's life and work, and how two things, how this inspires us. Okay, the first thing is we have already gone through this program. I didn't want to repeat anything of that, but see, if you look at C.V. Raman's life, he has got his MA degree. Actually, nowadays it's MSc in physics in 1907. And then he got married in 1907. And that was also an interesting story. It does not say here. And that is, he was very much interested in music. Being a physicist, he was interested in music. And then he found a lady somewhere playing veena. So he was so much impressed. He fell in love. And he's gone to her parents' house, and then they got married in 1907 on the same year when he got his PhD degree. I'm very sorry, MA degree. After that, he got a job in Accountant General Office in Calcutta. He has come all the way to Calcutta. So if you look at this situation, look at any one of us, just passed your MA degree, MSc degree, you got married. So most of us, what we will do is, we will set up a family and then set up a house and, things like that, settle down, you call it. But what he did is something interesting. He was interested in doing physics. Because what I told my student, I don't want to say that I'm telling you this, what I told my student is, all that you know till the time you pass a MA degree is something that is already known. Something that is there in books, that is taught to you and you have learned it. And so all that you know is what is already known. So what is necessary after that, after the master's degree, is that you must be able to contribute to knowledge through some kind of research work or whatever little it may be. Totally insignificant, doesn't matter. But you have done something on your own is what should be the aim of life at that time. And that's what we learned from C.V. Raman's work, that he actually, even though he was working in a government office, in a finance department, but still he wanted to pursue his physics and he wanted to contribute to the world of science. This is very important. Now we must all learn from this. In fact, even Albert Einstein also have a similar kind of thing. After his work, he was then joined a patent office in Zurich, in Switzerland. So Albert Einstein was a clerk in a patent office in Switzerland, and that's the time when he has done all these great discoveries. Okay, theory of relativity, general theory of relativity, everything was done by Einstein when he was working in a government office. So you see the similarity. Now, what you learn from the similarity is this, that you must have that something inside you. Even if you are doing something entirely different from physics, still there is something inside you that prompts you to do something and make some discoveries. That is, you can see a kind of comparison between C.V. Raman and Albert Einstein. And of course, it will be very nice if all our students are like that, have this kind of a interest. And that's why I want to encourage and motivate all our students. After your basic degree, I think you should try to contribute something in your field. So that is an important lesson that we should learn. And of course, there is something more continuation which is not there in the thing. That is, at that time in Calcutta, there are some people, in fact, 19th century was a time when there are lots of thought by the intellectuals in West Bengal, in Calcutta, that they should do something, make contribution to life in different way, not only in the area of science, but also in other areas. Because in those days, you have British administration, they have set up colleges and universities, but they have never encouraged scientific research. Because you see, the British mind is, they are very smart. If we allow these people to do research and think independently and make decisions, then they will become independent people. You cannot. So they always try to control things, and even in Cotton College they have set up, but there is no research done. There is no facility. They didn't allow. So therefore, some people in Calcutta at that time thought that we must do something on our own. And there's a person called, he's a doctor, Mahendra Lal Sirkar. He has made what he call it, association. And that was called Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science. So they have made that association. Lots of people joined here, and C.V. Raman also came. And Raman actually worked there as a part-time after his office hours or during holidays. So that's how the whole thing started. And somebody has donated a house in Calcutta, in main city in Calcutta in those days. It's called Beaubazar Street or something. So that's how they started. And of course now it's in Jadavpur area. And that's DST supported institution. And it's one of the best institutions in the country. So there under that thing, so what I are trying to tell you again and again is that that kind of a, obsession that we have, that I know physics, and now I want to do something using that knowledge, some new discoveries. So that is what is necessary even among us. Okay, that is one thing. The second thing I would like to tell you, that's what I told my students again, is something very interesting. See, again in your clip, one thing is not there, which I would like to tell you, that in 2013, the American Chemical Society has designated Raman effect as an international historic chemical landmark. International historic chemical landmark, and this is something which is absolutely new. It's, I think, more important than even an Nobel Prize, because that's a subject of physics, which is now considered as a historical landmark by the Chemical Society of United States. It is the biggest chemical society, and so why it is so? I mean, that is also another interesting thing, because here I think if we try to understand this, lots of things will be clear. Actually, what happened is. Another new thing, over that, whatever it is said in that thing, is that when Raman effect was first discovered and all that, it is not very useful for many people. Because using a mercury lamp, whatever you have done, the spectra, the vibrational spectra you get is very, very weak in intensity. It's very, very difficult to, distinguish between peaks and all that. So it was not very popular, actually, for application people. For physics people, it is okay. It's a very good idea, and you have done this, and you've got scattering, and so on and so forth. It's okay. But one of the basic disadvantages was that that spectrum, Raman spectrum, was very weak, and therefore you cannot study many molecules, chemical molecules, or if you're talking about biological molecules, you cannot do much. However, at that time, a new thing has come up, and somebody has discovered that instead of using a mercury lamp, if you use a highly monochromatic beam of laser light, if you shine on a molecule, and you shine the laser light in a frequency where the molecule must have a chromophore, where you can electronically excite the molecule through a laser beam. And if you can do that, it is found that many of the vibrational peaks that you see in Raman, they get enhanced. And we call it by means of resonance. In fact, this is whole idea is called resonance Raman spectroscopy. Raman spectroscopy, but you use laser beam and excite electronic states in a chromophore, and then you can get a very good Raman spectrum in a spectroscopy. In fact, those of you who are finding it difficult to understand, let me tell you. Take, for example, a big molecule like myoglobin or hemoglobin. You have a heme unit, and the red color of blood is because of the heme unit. It is highly, it absorbs light near about 430 nanometer. So if you excite hemoglobin, excite at 400 by laser beam, then you can study the whole vibrational spectra of the entire protein. And that has given a great boost to the Raman effect. And so thousands of chemists all over the world has now jumped on the Raman effect, using Raman effect, and in fact it is there everywhere all over the world, and lots of work has been done. And when chemistry starts doing something, biology is not far behind, you see. In fact, whenever the chemistry ends, then biology starts. So lots of biological work, particularly proteins, were studied by resonance Raman spectroscopy. So you can see how it goes. That's why American Chemical Society called it a historical landmark, a chemical landmark in a historical context. So what does this mean? It means one very interesting thing today on a science day. I think we should think about it, that all these subjects we have, physics, chemistry, biology, these are, in fact, these are all continuous evolution of knowledge, I should say. All these barriers we put are human concepts, just like you have Hindu, Muslim, Christian kind of thing. There's no meaning otherwise. We just do it because it is whatever reasons. Similarly, physics, chemistry, mathematics is our administrative barrier, I should say. It is easier to teach the subject or do research. But after all, when you study a substance, then you cannot distinguish between physics, chemistry. You have to do a whole lot of things. And you may have to, you may be a physicist, ultimately you may end up doing biology. And then nothing, you don't be surprised about it. So this means that in our way of learning things, I think we should have a more wider perspective of things. So even if you are a physicist, don't hesitate to learn biology. Because someday it may be necessary for you. Okay, so therefore knowledge has become totally interdisciplinary. In what is generally said is that knowledge is now seamless, borderless knowledge. So there is no border. Okay, you can just simply go from physics to chemistry to biology. And in fact, nowadays more things like biomedical systems. So in all these things, applications are also along that line. So Raman effect has achieved that sort of a thing now, and that's why it's a landmark, chemical landmark is there. In fact, some of you probably do not know about one more thing, that using Raman effect, you can, even in airports, there is some kind of a handheld device like that. If you are carrying drugs in your bag, they can detect it. You can point this thing and push a button. If there's a drug, then that Raman effect will take care of it, and there will be some beep, beep, beep noise, and you know that. Because, you can detect a particular drug present in a system. So this has become very useful. When C.B. Raman discovered this, he discovered it for some, it's basically curiosity and nothing else. He just wanted to know why the sky is blue. So, but then now, it is so useful in chemistry, physics, biology, solid state, and so on. There is this big list. C.V. Raman was very much interested that apart from physics is something else. There is music. How the frequency that generates in music, how it can affect the source of light or light beam that comes in. In fact, he has done a lot of work. I didn't come preparing, studying this thing. You can go through all these things. How a kind of a vibrational frequency can affect a beam of light through scattering of that frequency. So that also is an interesting thing. He worked on tabla and all these things. So actually, he was a multifaceted personality. He has done lots of other things. I don't have to give a big lecture on this, but just I mentioned music. And so you add this to whatever I said, not only you have to have a wide knowledge in your subject, even you should have some knowledge in other areas, in music and other aspects. In fact, nowadays most universities, including my university we're encouraging students, in fact, we're offering courses on music, drama, dance, and our students who are doing physics have to compulsorily take 2 of these courses, maybe music or maybe something else. So, so this is the kind of trend in almost all good universities all over the world, that studying your own subject is not enough. You have to study something which is entirely different, so that there can be a kind of interdisciplinary interactions. So you may find more interest in some of those. Okay. Okay, that's about C.B. Raman and how we are getting inspired. Just 2 things that I said. One is that we should that doing research should come from inside us. I'm telling the research scholars here that you're doing research because you have got some fellowship and because you have to do it. Don't look at that way. You must enjoy doing your research, and that enjoyment will come only when things come from within you. It should not be a compulsion that I have to do it because I'm a research scholar, I'm getting a fellowship, so that's why I'm doing it. No, not that way. You should pick up an area and you should see whether you enjoy doing whatever you are doing. If you are not, then you take a subject where you probably can be more interested. So that is one part of my talk about Raman and what you learn from Raman.